AV and Maria, welcome to the Rosary Team Podcast.
It is so good to be here.
So I was looking at the calendar this morning, and we are staring right down the barrel of what might be the most, the most confusing day in the Christian year.
Confusing. That's an interesting word for it. I usually hear people say things like somber or heavy.
Well, think about it. We spend all year, reading the gospel where Jesus is very clear. When you fast, do it in secret. Wash your face. Don't look gloomy.
Don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing.
Exactly. And then on this one specific Wednesday, we all line up, get a giant black smudge put right on our foreheads, and then walk around in public all day. I mean, it feels like we're doing the exact opposite of what the instruction manual says.
It does look like a massive contradiction on the surface, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Don't show off your fasting and then immediately, here, wear this giant sign on your face.
Right. A total mixed signal. But, looking at the stack of research we have for today, and we've got everything from ancient Jewish roots to Maronite liturgies, it seems like that smudge isn't about showing off at all. It's actually a piece of spiritual technology.
Spiritual technology. I really like that phrasing. And you're absolutely right. If you just stop at the surface level, it looks like hypocrisy.
Yeah.
But the mission for this deep dive is to figure out how that technology actually works.
Yeah.
We're going to look at why Queen Esther covered herself in dung.
Yes, dung. We have to talk about that.
We do. And why Greeks are flying kites, and how this whole season is really a kind of rematch of the Garden of Eden.
A rematch. Okay, that sounds intense.
It is intense. But what's amazing is that the sources we have, they paint a picture that is incredibly positive. It's not a funeral. It's more like a rescue mission.
Okay, I like that. So let's start with the basics then. The dust. Why do we do it? If Jesus said, wash your face, why on earth are we dirtying ours?
To understand the ash, you have to get out of the 21st century and think like a first century Jew. For them, ash wasn't just dirt.
It was a language.
It's a language, exactly. It communicated something very specific that words couldn't quite capture.
So what were they saying with it?
Primarily three things. The first one is the one we all sort of know, mortality. It goes all the way back to Genesis 3. God tells Adam, you are dust, and to dust you shall return.
Right. That's the big reality check. You're not God. You're going to die.
It punctures the ego.
Mm-hmm.
But the second layer is where it really starts to answer your question about the contradiction. That layer is intercession. And for this, we have this fascinating source on Queen Esther.
Okay, this is the dung part I mentioned.
It is so vivid, isn't it? So just set the scene. Esther is royalty. She's in the palace. She has the jewels, the silk, the perfumes. She is, arguably the most powerful woman in her world.
Mm-hmm.
But her people are about to be wiped out. Genocide. She needs to save them.
And normally, if you want to influence a king, you dress up. You look your absolute best.
Exactly. But she does the complete opposite. The text says she removed her splendid apparel, and she covered her head with ashes and dung.
Dung. I mean, like manure.
Yes, and she was making a radical point. She was stripping away every single layer of comfort, status, and beauty to basically say, I am nothing without God's help. She physically debases herself to elevate her prayer.
So the ash wasn't about saying, look how holy I am.
No.
It was saying, I am desperate.
Precisely. It's a cry for help. And that connects directly to the third layer, public assembly. You mentioned the conflict with Matthew 6, where Jesus says to fast in secret.
Right.
But our sources point out there's a huge difference between a private fast and what they called a solemn assembly.
Okay, like the difference between praying in your room and going to Mass on Sunday.
In a way, yeah. The source quotes the prophet Joel.
Yeah.
And he calls for this public gathering. Sanctify the congregation, assemble the elders. Ash Wednesday is really the Christian equivalent of Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement.
And on Yom Kippur, everybody fasted together. It was a group thing.
Right. It wasn't about you as an individual showing off. It was the entire community standing together and admitting we are in a mess and we absolutely cannot fix it ourselves.
That actually resolves the paradox for me. If I'm walking around with ashes, I'm not saying I'm holier than you. I'm saying I'm in the same boat as you.
Yes.
We're all in this sinking ship together looking for a lifeboat.
That is the perfect image. We are all visibly, publicly admitting our need for a savior. And that communal aspect that we're in this together feeling, that actually bridges us perfectly to the Eastern traditions. Because, looking at these Maronite and Greek sources, they don't even agree on which day to start the mess.
This was one of the most surprising things in the stack for me. I grew up thinking Lent always starts on Wednesday. It's in the name. But you're telling me for millions of Christians, the season has already started.
That's right. If you're a Latin Catholic, you start on Wednesday. But if you're Maronite or Syriac or Orthodox, you probably started 2 days ago on what they call Ash Monday or Clean Monday.
Is that just a scheduling conflict? Does someone, like, lose a calendar 1,000 years ago?
It actually comes down to math,
Yeah.
specifically how you calculate the number 40.
Maronite math?
We can call it that. So everyone agrees Lent should be 40 days, right, to mirror Jesus in the desert. But the Eastern churches, they're very strict about the theology of Sundays. Sunday is the day of resurrection.
Right, the day the bridegroom is with us.
And you can't fast at a wedding feast. So for them, Sundays are exempt from the fasting count. They're days of joy, even in the middle of Lent. But if you skip all the Sundays in your count,
You run out of days before you get to 40.
you run out of days. So to get the full 40 days of actual fasting in before Easter, they have to back the truck up 2 extra days. So they start on Monday.
That makes a lot of practical sense, but there's a thematic difference too, isn't there? I was reading about the Maronite entrance into Great Lent. They don't seem to focus as much on the dust aspect as we do in the West.
No, they focus on the goal. They start Lent with Cana Sunday. They read the Gospel of the Wedding at Cana.
Where Jesus turns the water into wine.
Think about that metaphor for a second. In the West, we often view Lent through the lens of the desert. It's dry, it's dusty, it's about suffering. But the Maronites kick it all off with a miracle of transformation. They're framing the whole 40 days not as, look how bad I am, but as, look at what I can become.
That is a huge shift. We're the water.
We are the water, plain, maybe a little stagnant, sitting in these stone jars. And Lent is the process. It's the miracle of becoming the wine.
I really love that. It gives you something to run toward, not just something to endure. And speaking of running, or I guess flying, we have to talk about the Greeks.
Ah, yes. Clean Monday, Cathartic Terra.
The source describes it as a public holiday in Greece where everybody goes outside, and the specific tradition mentioned is flying kites.
Yes.
I mean, nothing says penance like flying a kite on a hill, right? It just sounds almost too fun.
It sounds totally contradictory to the Western ear, doesn't it? We think penance means a dark room and a hair shirt. But the symbolism of the kite is actually really profound. They fly the kites to symbolize the soul looking upwards.
Looking toward the resurrection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It represents our spirit lifting towards God. It's called Clean Monday because they're leaving behind the carnival atmosphere of the past few weeks and cleaning the slate. It's a day of outdoor joy, eating shellfish and unleavened bread, and just looking up.
It really paints this picture of Lent not as some dreary dungeon, but as a spring cleaning for the soul, whether it's the ashes or the miracle at Cana or a kite. The goal is the same, to snap us out of our routine.
To reorient the heart.
Okay, hold on. Before we get into exactly how we reorient the heart, and specifically the spiritual warfare aspect, which I know is the real meat of this discussion, I just want to take a quick pause. We're talking so much about beauty and symbolism today. From the ashes to the kites, these visuals really matter. If you want to bring some of that sacred beauty into your own home, you should check out rosaryteam.com.
Visual reminders are so important. I mean, just like the ashes on your forehead serve as a reminder to the community, having sacred art on your walls helps keep your mind focused on the things that matter when you're at home.
Exactly. It's a great way to mark the season and keep that water to wine transformation top of mind. So, visit rosaryteam.com to acquire sacred art for your walls. Now let's get back to the battle.
And it is a battle. We've established the when and the how. Now we need the why.
Right, because let's be honest, the fasting part is hard. I mean, getting hungry makes me cranky. Why the hunger? Why does the church insist on this physical discomfort? Can I just, be a nice person and pray a bit more?
You could. But you'd be bringing a knife to a gunfight. The sources connect the 40 days of Lent directly to Jesus' 40 days in the wilderness, and the biblical roots source draws this absolutely incredible parallel between the Garden of Eden and the desert.
This was the rematch concept you mentioned.
It is a rematch. Think about Adam and Eve. They fell. But how did they fall? The Bible is very specific about the tactics the enemy used. Genesis says Eve saw the fruit was good for food, delightful to the eyes, and desirable to make one wise.
Okay, so those are the three hooks. Good for food. That's physical pleasure.
That's the lust of the flesh.
Delightful to the eyes. That's wanting stuff, possessions.
The lust of the eyes, greed.
Desirable to make one wise. That's the ego. Pride.
The pride of life, wanting to determine good and evil for yourself. Adam and Eve faced those three, and they just collapsed. Now, fast forward thousands of years. The second Adam, Jesus, is in the desert. He's starving. The devil shows up, and what does he do?
He tells him to turn stones into bread.
Good for food, lust of the flesh. Jesus rejects it. Then the devil shows him all the kingdoms of the world. I'll give you all this.
Delightful to the eyes, lust of the eyes.
Jesus rejects it. Then the devil says, throw yourself down from the temple. The angels will catch you. Prove who you are.
The pride of life.
And Jesus rejects it. He goes 3 for 3, where Adam went 0 for 3. He reverses the fall.
That is just fascinating symmetry. But how does that apply to me giving up chocolate for Lent?
This is the strategic part. The Church gives us 3 Lenten disciplines, and they are not random. They correspond exactly to those 3 battlefronts.
Wait, you mean fasting, almsgiving, and prayer?
Look at the matchup. To fight the lust of the flesh food, pleasure, we use fasting. To fight the lust of the eyes possessions, greed, we use almsgiving, giving our stuff away. And to fight the pride of life, the ego, we use prayer, acknowledging we are not God.
Wow. I honestly have never put that together. I always just thought they were a checklist of good deeds, but you're saying it's a tactical counterstrike?
It's counter-warfare. If your biggest struggle is greed, just fasting from cookies isn't going to help as much as almsgiving. If you struggle with ego, giving away money might just make you prouder. You need prayer. It's a surgical intervention.
That makes the fasting make so much more sense. It's not just about suffering is good for you. It's training.
The source makes a really insightful point about fasting specifically. It says that when we fast, our body starts shouting. It says, feed me. I want comfort.
Oh, my body definitely shouts, usually around 10 a.m.
But that shouting, it serves a purpose. It puts the spirit in a state of alertness. When your body is comfortable and stuffed, your soul can easily fall asleep. You feel self-sufficient. But when the body is needy, the spirit wakes up. It reminds you that you are dependent.
It's like an alarm clock for the soul.
Yes, and that is why the Ash Monday liturgy says, rend your hearts, not your garments. The external hunger is meant to create an internal hunger for God. If you're just hungry and angry-hangry, you're missing the point. The hunger is supposed to make you pray.
That really reframes the whole experience. It's not a diet. It's spiritual combat training.
Exactly.
Now, I want to pivot to the emotional side of this. We've talked about the history, the math, the strategy, but there is a feeling that comes with Ash Wednesday. And we have a source here from Father Mike Schmitz that hits on something really deep. Shame.
This was such a powerful insight. He talks about the aha moment of the ashes.
He distinguishes between 2 types of shame, which I thought was interesting because usually, we hear shame is bad, get rid of it.
Right. And he talks about toxic shame, which is that voice that says, I am garbage, I am worthless. That is never from God. But there is another kind. We could call it restorative shame.
How can shame be restorative?
Well, think about Adam and Eve again. When they realized they were naked, they hid. Why? Because they realized they had lost something precious. They remembered what they were supposed to be.
So the shame was a reaction to the loss.
Yes. The positive side of shame is the realization, I was made for something better than this. It's not, I am trash, it's, I am a masterpiece that has been vandalized.
I am a masterpiece that has been vandalized. That hits hard. So when we line up for ashes...
We're admitting the vandalism. We're saying, I am not currently the person I was designed to be. The ashes are a public admission that things are not right.
But then, and this is the part that just gave me chills, he points out what the priest actually does. He doesn't just smudge dirt on your face in a random blob.
No, he makes a specific shape, the sign of the cross. And this is the crucial turning point. The ash says, you are dust, but the shape says, you are loved.
The source used the word mine.
That is the key. When that thumb traces the cross on your forehead, it is God saying mine. It's a claim.
I think that changes everything. Because if it's just dust, it's depressing. Hey, remember you're going to die soon. Thanks, Father. But if it's a cross...
It means there's a price tag on that dust. The cross is the price Jesus was willing to pay for you. He's saying you are broken, yes. You are mortal, yes. But your sin is mine to take away. Your life is mine to redeem.
It's an ownership claim.
It is. And it transforms the ritual from a funeral dirge into a declaration of worth. You are dust, but you are my dust.
That connects back so well to the Maronite idea of the entrance into Lent. We are entering a season where we let God reclaim us.
And that is the ultimate goal. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we aren't fasting to make God love us. He already loves us. That's why the cross is there. We are fasting to get our own barriers out of the way so we can experience that love.
So, we have gone from the dung of Queen Esther
To the kites of Greece.
to the rematch in the desert, and finally to this mark of the cross. It's a journey from mortality to transformation.
It really is. And I think If there's one thing listeners should take away from this deep dive, it is that Lent is active. It is not a passive time of just waiting for Easter. It is a time of active engagement, flying the kite, fighting the temptations, rendering the heart.
And doing it together. Whether you're in a solemn assembly or flying a kite on a hill, it's a communal return to God.
Absolutely.
So, as we wrap up, what's the final thought we should leave everyone with? We've covered a lot of ground today.
I would go back to that thought for the Maronite source we touched on.
Mm-hmm.
It said the goal is to arrive at a spiritual resurrection. That's a provocative idea.
Yeah.
We often think of the resurrection as something that happened to Jesus 2,000 years ago, or something that happens to us after we die. But Lent invites us to a spiritual resurrection now.
A spiritual resurrection now.
Yes. So the question for you, for the listener, isn't just, what are you giving up for Lent? That's the small question. The big question is, who are you becoming?
That's the challenge.
By the time we get to Easter, you will be 40 days older. That's inevitable. But will you be the same person? Will you still be the water sitting in the jar? Or will you have undergone the transformation into wine?
Not just enduring the season, but being changed by it.
That's the offer on the table.
Well, this has been an incredible journey through the dust and the glory of this season. It has certainly changed how I'm going to look at that smudge on my forehead this year.
Mine as well.
Before we sign off, I want to remind you one last time, if you're looking for a way to mark this season in your home, visit rosaryteam.com to acquire sacred art for your walls. It's a beautiful way to keep the focus where it belongs.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Thank you for listening to the Rosary Team Podcast.